Question, is it just me, or does anyone else absolutely hate their artwork while they're making it? I really hated this painting while I was working on it. It started off okay, but then inevitably in the messy middle, I just started to wonder, like, what am I doing? Why did I choose this subject matter? I started to resent the colors, the layout, wondered if my values were completely horrible. I was just questioning everything. I start to think that this doesn't match my other paintings. Now I'm a complete failure because I'm not following a style perfectly. And I start to think this painting isn't going to match my other paintings. And then my Instagram feed is going to look horrible. And then I'll never progress because I don't have the perfect grid. And I just spiral a bit. Here's the catch though. I literally do this with every painting. How about you? I mean, maybe a little more so with this recent painting. This was a pretty rough time. But yeah, every single painting, like, this happens, right? I really want to know if I'm alone here or not. Do you guys hate your artwork while you're making it? Or is it just me? I really feel like I'm not alone here. I typically end up liking my pieces at the end. Like, once I'm finished with the painting, I usually like it. It may not be perfect, but, you know, it usually comes to a place where I've accepted it, I like it, it's a lot better than I expected it to be. There's some paintings I absolutely hate at the end and I will just paint over them or just quit halfway through, but majority of the time I'm proud that I finished something and, you know, I move on. It's just the middle part that is so frustrating. I don't even like people to look at my artwork. Like, if my boyfriend comes in the room while I'm painting, I like cover it up. I'm like, don't look. I really don't like people to see my art until it's finished because I know it's gonna go through so many changes and steps before it's the final product. I've gotten really familiar with this feeling too. So, you know, it used to scare me more, and now I just sort of know I'm going to hate it for a little while and it'll all be okay once I'm finished. Just keep going. But it doesn't make it any easier. Like, it's a struggle and it really feels painful while you're making it. And, you know, it just feels like, am I ever going to get through this? Is this piece going to ruin my art career? Like, that's what it feels like for some reason. I think we just place so much importance in each piece. And you know, it makes sense because, I mean, first of all, paint's expensive, materials are expensive, our time is precious, you know, if you work a job or have school or kids or whatever, then your painting practice may be limited in the time that you spend. So if you spend a lot of time and money on a piece and then you hate it, it feels like a defeat. It feels like you're moving backwards in your art career, and that hurts, you know? So it is painful, but at the same time, it's just kind of part of it, right? We just have to deal with it and know that it will be okay, either at the end of the painting or with the next painting. You know, if we ruin this one, the next one will be all right. And we just have to keep going. Something I struggle with too is, like, sometimes I just end up messing up my paintings by adding too much detail or like correcting things, and then I end up missing the older version. Do you guys do this too? Because I feel like it happens to me all the time. And I know values are so important, but sometimes I look at like super low contrast paintings and I actually love them. Like, there's no value scale, but I just like all the pastel colors and, you know, brightness to it, the simplicity. But that kind of goes against all the rules of like having good values. So I'm kind of pondering this for my next paintings, like, how little can you paint while still being happy with the finished piece? Like, how can you stop when you're ahead and not add too many details so then you end up hating it, right? So it's like I always feel like I need to like finish a piece fully and like add so many details and make it perfect, and then I end up hating it even more. So it's like, keep in mind those earlier versions that you loved that didn't have all the high contrast and super details, and maybe just stop there, and that can be your finished piece when you're still ahead, right? That's something that I learned with this painting, actually. I won't say that I liked the earlier versions better, but I just liked a quality they had, that they weren't so like overdone. So how can I pull back, you know, have more intent and defined shapes, but less like tight details, I guess. Focusing on the big picture. You know, some of the best art pieces I've ever seen are a few like flat shapes, you know, or a simple flower just deconstructed in an interesting way. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just needs to be intentional and, you know, quality, like quality colors, quality shapes over like a bunch of layers and details, if that makes sense. I'm trying to just get comfortable with this idea of like create. Keep going, you know? When you finish, just keep going. Don't think too much about each piece. Don't consider each piece piece so much. They don't have that much weight. This artist I love named Richard Tinkler on Instagram. He is prolific. He's just constantly putting out new paintings. And I read an interview with him. Something he said was, "In my work, I think of all the paintings as one. I think of them all as one work." He says, "Making a lot of similar paintings gets me away from the idea that there is any one ideal way they should be. There is no one painting that is the painting. There is no final statement. There is just endless variation." By making so many paintings that are similar to one another, it keeps the paintings from suggesting that there is some kind of answer. Often people think about art as problem solving. Working this way allows me to avoid suggesting that there is some kind of answer. There are just things that exist. I don't know why, but his statements in this interview just boom, hit me so powerful in the heart and just really awakened me to this idea that no one painting is the answer, and your body of work is what matters. Your work over time is what matters, and you don't need to get caught up in any one painting. So yes, I may not love this piece fully that I made, but man, I finished it and that's incredible. I learned that less detail can be better. I learned to paint fire, sort of. I painted a sky for the first time in probably years. I painted sand, which was my least favorite part, and it was so difficult, and honestly, it looks terrible still in my painting, but that is okay. I tried. So I learned a ton from this single piece. So I really can't be that mad, right? And obviously it didn't turn out horrible. It's still a decent painting. But even if I don't love it, even if it was terrible, it's you still learn from every single painting. And you have to make bad art to get good, right? You cannot skip the part of making bad art. I was listening to a interview with Mike Posner on the Rich Roll podcast one day, and he said, "I have thousands of songs that are horrible and just a few that are good." And that really hit me too. I'm like, wow, I didn't think about an artist having thousands of songs that they hate. But that made me feel so much better because I have a lot of paintings I don't like. And I'm just oh my gosh, all this canvas and paint and time and but you can't think of it that way. You have to think of each piece as a stepping stone to your next masterpiece or a learning, peg in the pegboard on your journey. And it's just a piece of the puzzle, You have to go through the messy middle. The only way out is through, right? So just getting to this place of acceptance, of moving, and just keep going and seeing each piece as a tiny star in my art universe, getting 1% better with each painting, knowing and hoping in my heart that, in a few years I'll look back and see this amazing body of work that actually is cohesive and makes sense together, even if I don't fully see it now, And trying all these different subject matter and, styles or whatever, trying all of those is a good thing because I'll sort of come up with my own style over time and learn from each little new thing I try. And yeah, I love the concept of, hey, let's make bad art on purpose. I hear a lot of people talking about that, and I really live by that too. I'm always telling people, just make bad shit. That's how you're gonna learn. So I also want to say, let's hate our art on purpose. Let's come out here and let's just hate what we're making, right? Let's make bad shit and let's hate it. The whole time we're making it, let's be I hate this. But guess what? I'm still going to finish it. And I'm still going to make another piece and I'm going to hate it. But I'm going to keep going and just make it, hate it, make it, hate it. And over time, we'll probably hate each piece a little bit less, right? And there'll be a couple gems in there that you actually love and that you want to make prints and sell and that become your favorite pieces. But you can't really have those gems if you don't have the hate pieces too. So here's to hating our artwork and showing up another day, doing the work, completing things, and, being proud of ourselves no matter what. Okay? Happy painting out there. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.